This is your Daily 5 for Monday, May 25th, 2026. For one of our movies for Maybe It Won't Suck this week, Lando suggested a film I'd never heard of that he had seen when he was very young, a 1978 film titled The Medusa Touch. And when I looked at the synopsis for it, I did not read what the actual story was because with movies like this, it is kind of fun for me to see if I can see where it's going. And when I read it, it sounded fairly wild. It's about an individual who becomes convinced that they are the cause of multiple disasters that have occurred during their life. And it chiefly is, I don't know all the actors, but it's essentially a four-character movie built around Richard Burton as the character who thinks he's causing disasters. I believe the actress's name is Lee Remick, who plays the doctor who's treating him. I cannot remember the names of the two inspectors involved. One is a French inspector, one is an English inspector who are looking into what's going on. So the movie starts out and Richard Burton's character is assaulted, and then they are trying to build up a set of events that might explain who went after him and why, and that's where the movie unfolds. And it starts out fairly conventionally, and then it becomes wilder and wilder as it goes on because you start getting into the idea of, is Richard Burton some kind of psychic? Is he precog, where he's seeing these events? Could he be causing them? If he has some abilities, what are they? How much of this is in his mind? And it's an interesting film in that it builds these layers of kind of, okay, here's a question, and here's some possible answers. And then at some point, and this is something I think a lot of movies struggle with, it starts answering the questions, but then also layering in new kind of avenues for the answers to go. So you're never completely on sure ground, but you also don't feel like the movie has never answered anything. That's the key thing that a lot of movies get wrong. They pose all these questions and it keeps going. And you sit there and go, okay, well, you have to give me something. You're just posing all these new possible things that are going on. But if you don't give me some kind of center point, I'm just completely lost at sea here. I have no idea what's going on. This movie does not do that. The movie is excellent. It keeps going, and it just keeps adding these little bricks to the whole without telling you the entire structure that you're seeing. And it's paced very well. It gets extraordinarily intense for where you might think it ends up. And once it resolves, it has a real gut punch of a resolution. I won't spoil it. We'll talk about it on the Friday show. But I would say go into this one knowing as little as possible and see where you think it's going. Now, Lando remembered bits and pieces, so he was a little bit further ahead than I was, although he didn't remember everything. And I would say I guessed what was going to happen, I'd say with about 80% accuracy. And I think some of that is just because it follows in some ways a sort of, I won't say it's derivative in terms of the formula it's following, but it's familiar. But still, with enough things going on, there's actually one point in the film, a fairly critical point, actually, that Lando and I got completely different interpretations of, which is also the sign of a well-written film. And the main character is fascinating in terms of the morality, Richard Burton's character, because he's written really effectively, and this was adapted from a novel, so that's perhaps a help in this way, a series of novels around, I think, the same inspector. But the way the character's written, depending on what's happening, you either feel for him and understand what he is going through, or you absolutely hate him. And so he's written very organically human because he's deeply flawed, but he's never just a mustache twirling villain, nor does he seem entirely a byproduct of some of the bad things that have been done to him. He exists in this strange middle space, as most people do. So I really enjoyed this. It's short. I think it's under 90 minutes. It's got a lot of very, very good actors in it doing very serious work. There are some really standout scenes that you will not shake for a while, but in a really good way. And overall, I can't believe I've never even heard of this movie. But I did mention it to somebody and they had heard of it. So apparently it does have a bit of a reputation. It is known, it just wasn't known to me. So this one is pretty easy to find all over the place. I would absolutely recommend it. Look up the synopsis for 1978's The Medusa Touch. And if it's at all interesting, watch it because it's really good. Later.